A little bit of a second, less formal introduction of Coach Dan Hurley and his staff officially to the UConn faithful, all assembled here. Here's how this is going to go this evening. We're going to introduce Coach Hurley, his staff. You're going to hear from each one of them. And then we're going to do sort of a little bit of a Q&A between myself and Coach Hurley. And hopefully we'll have some time for some questions from the audience. We'll keep it clean. We're on Facebook, obviously. Nothing controversial, but nothing that Coach Hurley can't handle. So glad everyone could make it here. Certainly going to be an interesting and exciting season next season. A fresh start, a restart here at UConn. For those that don't know, I'm Andy Katz. Been here in the States since 1999 when I moved here from California to work for ESPN. Now, the last year, I've been working for the NCAA, Turner, the Big Ten Network. Last fall, obviously helped out UConn with their football program. So I'm honored here to be asked to help you guys out and introduce Coach Dan Hurley and his staff to UConn. Coach Hurley? So as I said, we're going to talk to Coach a little bit more in depth here shortly. And before he introduces his staff, just want to say a couple things about this hire. I've covered a lot of coaching hires over the last 25 more years and doing this, dating myself a little bit, and you have to get it right. And sometimes, and I've been on the other side, obviously, in the media, you want things to happen really quickly, but you got to make sure you get the right fit. And there's no question that David Benedict and his staff at UConn and Susan Herbst got the right fit in Coach Hurley. I don't know if there's another coaching hire this carousel that you could argue was as good a fit as Coach Hurley here at UConn. Obviously very familiar with the Northeast, grew up in New Jersey, obviously under one of the most iconic high school coaches of all time, his dad at St. Patrick's. Danny went on to play at Seton Hall. Excuse me.
Don't do that.
Oh, sorry. St. Benedict's, I'm thinking of yours. St. Benedict's was you.
St. Benedict's was me.
Yes.
St. Anthony's.
St. Anthony's, I'm sorry. Say, first mistake by me. Thank you. Your dad would have killed me for that one. Hopefully he's not watching right now. St. Anthony's, I don't know why I had St. Patrick's in my head. St. Anthony's, which obviously unbelievable in the Hall of Fame now and deservedly so. Danny played at Seton Hall, coached at St. Benedict's, Wagner, URI, and those that have followed basketball in New England for a long time. URI had its moments in its history under Tom Penders. People know in this area, Al Skinner. Took a little bit of a dip, had that one good year with Jim Herrick, then things went awry. And at URI, Danny Hurley brought the program back-to-back NCAA tournaments, dominating the A-10 the last couple of seasons, and it really was a no-brainer for UConn to make the move to bring him over here. And so I think this is going to be the perfect marriage, the perfect fit. Anytime you go out of the family, and there's obviously been a great history here with Jim Calhoun and its family at UConn, you got to make sure you get the right guy that understands the culture here, understands the history of this program. And Danny Hurley definitely does. We're going to talk about that. So, Dan, I want you to be able to introduce your staff, which, of course, we're going to start with a very familiar face here to UConn.
Okay, Tom Moore, everybody. No. So Tom Moore, I coached high school at, again, St. Benedict's Prep.
No, I didn't screw yours up.
I
didn't get to yours yet.
The best high school basketball in the country is played in New Jersey, too. Right, Kamani? No, he's a New York guy, man. I'll get to you. All right, so Tom Moore, I've known Tom since my time as a prep school coach. I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for Tom and the UConn program. And I competed against his teams at Quinnipiac when I coached at Wagner, gained even more respect for him there. And then the opportunity to bring Tom on board this past year, And he had such a huge impact on our season at URI. It was the best season. It was the best regular season in the history of the program. We'd accomplished things that had never been accomplished there before. And Tom was a huge part of that. And obviously, it was essential for me to have him as a part of this, getting UConn back to where UConn was when Tom was here. So
let's bring up Tom Moore.
Tom Moore.
You're going to go here.
Hello? Yep. We're sitting for this, right?
Yeah, we're going to sit for a little introduction here. So, Tom, for those that were not paying attention, the last, 10, 12 years, when you left UConn and went to Quinnipiac, help people understand your path to getting back to this point and how you sort of stayed true to your craft.
Before I answer that, Coach Hurley Sr., if you are watching on Facebook Live, we had nothing to do with that introduction. Nothing whatsoever. You say down there, you say St. Patrick's in front of Coach Hurley's presence. This is nowhere to lie. I have, in my phone, I have probably 2,000 coaches in my contacts, and I have 2 under the name Coach and their last name. Coach Hurley Sr. and Coach Calhoun. So when you make a mistake about Coach Hurley Sr., I run. I don't take any. I'm going to run the other way and hightail it. There's not a guy that I think I have more respect
I read
for.
the book, the Woj's book. I should know it. I don't know. It was somehow blocked in my head. All right, let's move on.
Anyway, yeah, I left. I had a great opportunity in 2007 to leave UConn and take the Quinnipiac job, and spent 10 years there as the head coach. Had great memories, great times, worked for some great people. John Leahy, the president of Quinnipiac, if any of your sons or daughters or any of you went there, done a phenomenal job with rebuilding that whole institution. And it was awesome. I got an opportunity to learn and grow as a coach. And when I was let go there last March, I reached out to Dan to see if I could possibly hook on with him. Once you've been an assistant coach for 13 years with a Hall of Famer like Jim Calhoun, and you've been your own boss for 10 years, the last 23 years, it's been pretty much just two things, basically. And then you say to yourself, I'm going to have to go work for somebody, probably, for all intents and purposes. So I thought of Steve Peichel, who's a very good friend and somebody who I really respect, and I like what he's doing at Rutgers. Obviously, we should have a big hand for Coach Peichel. And one of us. And I thought of Dan because I've always had a great deal of respect for him. And we recruited a bunch of his guys at St. Benedict's over those years, and we didn't get any of them. Some of the ones we didn't get, I was pissed off. Some we didn't get, he was pissed off because we went in another direction. But such respect for the job he did at St. Benedict's. I was in that gym once every couple weeks just because I could go to his gym and I could go to St. Anthony's and I could go to that aforementioned place that we're not going to say anymore. And they're all within like a 30-minute radius. You could see 3 of the top 10 programs in the country. And then coaching against him when he was at Wagner and I was at Quinnipiac, it was a different feel. It was a friendship feel when he was at St. Benedict's. And then I always like to say the energy and the intensity that comes from his bench and his sideline when you play them is different than everybody else. So when I had the opportunity in March, I knew Rhode Island, what he had built at Rhode Island was special. I knew they were going to have another great year last year. And I said, geez, I'd be blessed if I could be a part of that and sort of be on the inside with him. And things worked out great.
So, Tom, how has UConn changed since you were here as an assistant?
First thing is where we work. The practice facility is unbelievable, gorgeous, beautiful. Peter Worth and his family obviously had so much to do with that, but all of you had a lot to do with that too as well, with your donations and support. And, one thing I want to just say to everybody here, I don't think sometimes you guys quite realize this. And there's not a lot of programs in the country you could come on a night in May and have this many people come to meet a new coach. It just doesn't happen at any other place, really. And when our guys come back to UConn, all the former players, Coach does a great job of having them all come back. There's the alumni game and that reunion event every year. The thing that they look most fondly on, in their time at UConn is the atmospheres in which we played, like the game nights in which we played. Whether it be Hartford or Gamble, but whether it be Madison Square Garden or whether it be on the road. I walked out this had to be 6 or 7 years ago with Khalid El Amin. I met him at Gamble for something on the weekend that he was here for the reunion event. And we walked out in Gamble together, and this is in August, right? And there's nothing going on in Gamble, but we walked out together in August. It was the first time he'd been back in a while, and he was like almost tearing up. It was just me and him in Gamble, but just walking out from the locker room to the court, how much it meant to him. And you hear the same thing from all these guys. Kevin Freeman today is almost in tears because he took a great job. He had an awesome opportunity to move and leave here.
Tom, that's not official.
Yeah, so
Sources say.
Strike the St. Patrick's comment and strike those last 8 minutes. Can we do that? So the atmosphere and the environment,
Although he's not here, but that's all right.
upon which these guys played. That's all you guys, that's all you guys coming and supporting and coming to Madison Square Garden and coming to Hartford and coming to Gamble. And if there's ever a time that the program needs it more than any, it's right now. So this is a great sign, and a great sign for us.
All right, Dan, before we go down the line here, in terms of Tom, last season, what did he do for you on the bench that you can see translating here at UConn?
Well, I think with Tom, so many things. An amazing sounding board. I mean, think about the experiences that Tom's had, in coaching. Coaching with one of the all-time great coaches in college basketball history. Also too, being not too far away from, Coach Auriemma, who's one of the great coaches of all time as well. So, I mean, what an amazing basketball environment that Tom, was in here at UConn. To be 10 years at Quinnipiac?
Yep.
11? 10? 10 years as a head coach in Division I basketball. That experience of being in that hot seat, and that seat can get hot. It's a tough job. And so to have that type of experience, the suggestions, ideas, sounding board, from a guy that's been a part of national championships, developed first-round picks, has run a program at the highest level at a place like URI. It's just... or
Dom or anyone out there, we know the source.
Yeah.
I hear
Loose
there's
lips sink ships. That's right.
I hear there's a potential transfer from Connecticut. I got a bunch of calls yesterday, and I only picked up one of them. And I better serve not answering the phone.
All right, you're out.
Tom,
Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, we're going to bring up Kenya Hunter, who should be familiar to Big East fans when he was assistant at Georgetown, but most recently at Nebraska, coaching under Tim Miles and the Huskers. Definitely one of the top up-and-coming programs in the Big Ten. And Kenya certainly will be a huge addition to the staff. Dan, why'd you bring Kenya?
Okay, yeah.
Can't wait to hear this.
Well, listen, no, I mean,
Can't wait.
a great, well-rounded coach, but I felt bad for him. I don't know how many years you had to live in Nebraska, man. I just felt enough was enough.
He actually said that he rescued Kamani and I out of witness protection program.
Witness protection.
So it's kind of like I'm feeling good about myself again. Thank you.
No, Rhode Island, let me tell you, like Rhode Island, it's like LA compared to where you guys were. So I'm going to say that now.
Now, just so you know, people in Nebraska can watch on the website.
Oh.
That's all right.
So good. So good.
Everything's recorded now.
So,
No secrets.
For me, just as leader of the program, I've never wanted to hire anyone on staff that wasn't well-rounded, like outstanding recruiter, outstanding on the court in terms of individual improvement, development, scouting and preparation for opponents, high character, care about the kids, all about service to, these young people whose careers and lives we're entrusted with, with Kenya, Kenya's reputation in the business is, that of a guy that, is head coach caliber, has all the requisite skills to be running his own program, sooner rather than later. And I've always been smart enough to hire the best quality people. And, Kenya, represents all those things. And he also, too, it's not many coaches that you can bring on staff that can work with perimeter people and bigs at an expert level. So even little things like that, just it adds value when you're looking to bring in the best. And I think he's part of one of the best coaching staffs in the country.
All right, Kenya.
That's enough said, right?
Now,
I should be his agent.
Right. Jeez.
we can rip a little on Nebraska, but Tim Miles, great guy, running a great program. And I do think they're going to challenge toward the top of the Big Ten regular season title next season. So what drew you to leave that situation to come work for Danny Hurley?
Well, obviously, Coach Hurley's reputation and his name, getting back to the Northeast as well. I think that was one of the big draws. I felt that I did a really good job at Nebraska as far as recruiting, and I thought that coming here, especially with the staff that he assembled, I thought it was a great opportunity for me to come back and, bring a program back that has a lot of history and tradition of winning back to that caliber. And that was the exciting thing for me.
So when you were at Georgetown, what was your view of UConn?
Well, obviously, UConn, I always have had really good players, and that was the thing when I was at Georgetown. We had some success, though, against UConn when I was there. Won the Big East in that 2008 year when Roy Hibbert hit the three. Was kind
You're really going to do this right now? You're going to make these people mad at you?
I had to. And then in 2012, Otto Porter came to Gamble Pavilion. And sorry guys. But here's the thing though. I love the fans. The fans, they have the best fans in college basketball. And that's why we're here.
What about when you were recruiting for Georgetown in the Northeast against UConn and how difficult that was?
Yeah, Tom Moore. It was tough. I mean, we didn't actually. One of the guys that I was actually trying to recruit was Andre Drummond at the time, and that was a done deal. I should have just went back to D.C. real quick. But obviously, when you hear that UConn's involved with a player, that you either have to have a really good contact or in, because Coach Calhoun obviously. He brought it, and everyone wanted to play for a Hall of Fame coach like him. So it was tough. And UConn is UConn. I mean, they've always had really good players. So the thing that shocked me is just going into that new practice facility and seeing all of the past players and the pros that have come through this program, and it's a wow factor. And, that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to come here.
So, one thing I'm curious, Dan, when you are recruiting, if you will, assistant coaches, how much are you looking for someone that you have a personal relationship with or someone who fits what you're doing in terms of how you would sort of put together the pieces of this staff?
Yeah, again, being well-rounded. And for me, I didn't interview, I really only spoke to 3 people. It wasn't an extensive search. I spoke to Tom, Kamani, and Kenya. I did obviously a lot of background. I called all of the people whose opinions I respect in the industry. But there are also too, when you're in this business in July and in April, you get opportunities when you're in it's a Friday in the second week of recruiting in July, and you're in a gym, and and you got a chance to sit next to these guys and watch a game. I look for little things like, are they, number one, are they watching? But that's not little, because you look around the gym and I see, assistant coaches and sometimes head coaches from other programs that are on their phone, or talking on their phone, or not really evaluating the prospect. So and you have a chance to have conversations with them at a time where you don't have a job that they may be interested in, so you get to have real conversations and see the way they work, and that's how I knew really quickly, although their hirings took a little bit of time, I had kind of zeroed in on those three guys, and I think the drop off between them and the next guy that I was interested in was pretty significant, so I felt like I had to hire those three guys.
I think one of the reasons he attracted to me, just because, one, I work with one of his assistant coaches, David Cox, and I worked together at Georgetown. So just like he did his homework, I did my homework. And then also playing against Rhode Island when I was at Nebraska, just how he coached his teams, how organized they were, how disciplined they were. That's one of the reasons why when we went there, they beat us when we were ranked early on, is because how hard they played, how they competed, and I gained a lot of respect from just watching him. I didn't know him that well, but just watching how his team prepared and how they played.
So what question did you ask David Cox about Danny Hurley?
How crazy is he?
Fair question. You got to ask that one. What did he say?
What was the answer? What was the answer?
I'm here, right?
Wait.
That's a good mic drop. Yes, and David Cox, through his recommendation, but also on his own merit, obviously, is now the new head coach at URI. We want to bring up Kamani Young.
Yes.
So Kamani played for as an iconic a figure as there is in the game in Don the Bear Haskins at UTEP. And I actually covered UTEP when I was living out west in the late 90s. Kamani doesn't remember that. But so let's just do a little background. Basically, they got a Hall of Fame here in Jim Calhoun. What was it like to play for the Bear?
That was an awesome experience. It's the reason why I'm in coaching today. Gave me opportunity to grow up as a young man, leaving the city, going all the way out to El Paso, Texas. He was a joy to play for, to spend 4 years with him. Obviously, the history around the program and the tradition drew me out there. It was what you dreamed of. If you weren't a big-time player, you want to go to a mid-major program where you had a chance to win and where there's success and people cared about the program. And just his tremendous passion and affection for the game is what made me want to get into coaching when I was done.
And for those that aren't familiar, the great atmosphere you guys have here at UConn, I can tell you what they had in El Paso in the 90s when they were going to the NCAA tournament. Remember, Tim Hardaway played there earlier than that, but it was a phenomenal atmosphere. I don't know, from your dad's perspective at St. Anthony's, did you ever remember hearing anything about Don Haskins and the Bear?
Absolutely. We were watching, Pistol Pete Maravich black and white videos. We were, 3 years old, so. That's all I got to say about that.
All right, so Kamani was at Minnesota before he came here. And for the same kind of line of questioning, let's do this from you to Kamani. What drew you to selecting Kamani for the staff?
I would say the first thing for me was his background in grassroots basketball. We cut our teeth our most important years in our development as coaches happened in grassroots. For Kamani, it was AAU and then also high school at Rice too. I think he helped out because he coached, I think might have been on staff with Kemba. Kemba's junior year when my St. Benedict's team beat his team at Madison Square Garden.
Last second shot.
Very well-designed play.
3 7-footers on the team.
Yeah.
High school, really?
Tristan.
High school.
Yeah, listen. No, seriously.
2 pros, NBA.
Tristan Thompson played small forward for me, so that tells you he was in trouble. If you're you spent the amount of time that I spent 9 years. Kamani spent a ton of time at that level. For me, like you spent a lot of time there. It means you love, you love the game, and you're passionate about, helping serve kids, develop kids. That you're in this for the right reasons. So for me, like that was the first thing. We're connected that way, and that's how we both kind of got started. And then, all of the, really, my criteria doesn't change. Kamani checks off, all the boxes, on the court, with the ability, to prepare and develop, and then, his recruiting in the, to get guys, again, to go from the metropolitan area and throughout the country, to the Big Ten, to Minnesota, is a challenge that he was able to do an amazing job, with. And again, he's a head coaching quality guy, sooner rather than later. And then for me too, like I'm an emotional guy. You'll see that about me. You probably, if you've watched my games, you've seen it already. So, there's a lot of muttering over there. What are you saying? Yeah, you got faults too, so we're all just trying to get better. So Kamani, amazing all-around coach, and then he has infectious energy. Like, I get really discouraged after we lose. I don't losing, it doesn't sit well with me. And I honestly, Kamani's got like this very infectious personality. When he comes in a room, people get happier. So I was just figuring if we were going to lose some games this year, maybe he could help me get happier.
All right, Kamani, your reasons to come here besides, diffusing any kind of anger issues here.
Quick story about Coach Hurley. It was a weekend in April, a couple years ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago. Coming off his really good season at Rhode Island, he was offered, couple jobs, right? Millions of dollars, opportunities to get closer to home, different places. And as assistant, you kind of watch that movement because at some point in your career, you hope that you have an opportunity, like that. And, I asked him about it. He turned down a job that, he would have made more money than he ever, would have made in his life. It was a step up. I thought it made sense for him. And I asked him about it. And he said to me, Kamani, at this point in my career, we had a great season. His best player to that point, E.C. Matthews, had tore his ACL. And he said, I just couldn't leave him there like that. I couldn't take that opportunity and ride off into the sunset and leave a kid with his hopes and dreams at that place with a torn ACL. I just couldn't do it. And that just said so much to me about him, because I got in this business to help kids and families achieve their goals and dreams through basketball and through academics. And you don't always get that in college. It is a business and people do it and can grow and make a ton of money. But when you meet somebody in this business that want to do both, you look up to them. So that's something that stuck with me then. And then also to come back to a place like UConn and have a chance to win a national championship and play in front of a great fan base like this was an opportunity I just couldn't turn down.
Kamani Young. It's a good way to end it. Kamani. All right, so a couple things here, Dan. First of all, and I love Coach Calhoun, but it wasn't always safe to sit behind him. Any fans here actually sat in that row right behind Jim Calhoun? Couple? No earplugs? Did you read lips? Okay. You didn't have to read lips. You could hear it. Tom, you never heard anything, right? No, not a word. All right, how safe will it be to sit behind you in terms of, the clean language when you get a little riled up?
I think you'll be fine there. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Honestly, anytime somebody says honestly, then they lie, right?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay, so let me just start over. A lot of the intensity with my philosophy is, I played for Coach P.J. Carlissimo, who had I played for my dad, I played for PJ, and I played for Coach George Blaney, who is the best. Best. You know. So for me, I've tried to take a little bit of each of those coaches. So our practices are I mean, they're intense. I mean, you've got to be ready to go. The tempo, the pace, the level of competition, the standards, it's something to see. So I feel like practice is a time to create an environment for these guys that's going to be so much more difficult and stressful than the game's going to be. But then once we turn to game night, my job is to support the players and berate the refs. I mean, no, no, it's to support the players and have a great relationship with the officials. Excuse me. So, for me, like, that had a profound impact on my career. With Coach Blaney, he instilled so much confidence in me my last 2 years in college, because on game night he was so supportive. So for me, on game night, I almost kind of imagine myself as kind of like a boxing trainer. If you've ever seen a fight, when they come into the corner, trying to pump them up, trying to make them believe that they can do anything, but during practice, I'm a bad man. I mean, I'm bad.
Well, the good news is Tom Moore's got experience of holding back a coach from the refs. Yes. So, yes. And he knows all, at Gamble and the XL Center, he knows all the spots. All right, so as Kamani was saying, you had multiple opportunities over the last couple of years. There was no secret here. No sources here. It's obvious that Pitt and UConn were coming after you after URI, won the A-10 again, and you lose to Duke in the round of 32. So we knew you had opportunities. Why UConn?
It was a number of factors. For me, in my prime, in basketball as a player in college, and then as a coach at the high school level and at Rutgers. I was an assistant at Rutgers for 4 years, where I got a chance to coach against some of those great UConn teams. UConn has been one of the elite programs in the country. So that was the first thing. I want to be an elite coach. In order to be an elite coach, you've got to get to a program where you can get to Final Fours and you can produce first-round picks and win national championships. I want to be elite. So the move made sense that way. And in a place like Rhode Island, we had built a great program where we got to the point where we were winning conference championships and we were getting to the NCAA tournament. And we were beating the Creightons and we were beating the Oklahomas. But then when we took that next step up to the Oregons and the Dukes, we weren't quite at that level where we could take that next step and beat those elite level programs. And UConn represented, the opportunity, to, not just win that first round game, but, make long runs in the NCAA tournament and coach an elite program that has, national championship aspirations, legitimately.
And Kamani mentioned, E.C. Matthews. You were visibly upset, understandably so, when you guys lost that game. And there was definitely a deep connection to those URI players. Even as great an opportunity as this was, how difficult was it to leave what you built at URI?
Yeah, that was hard. I didn't decide. Hardest thing, I still haven't told the headmaster at St. Benedict's Prep that I was going to Wagner. How long ago was that? I tried to call him.
Does he know you're gone yet?
Yeah. Ray
Maybe
Reed.
he thinks you're at St. Patrick's.
yeah, he does. It was hard. I mean, there's something about the climb that is amazing to be a part of. To take over a program that's at a low level, and then where the crowds are small and the program is bottomed out, and then making that climb where you're recruiting this new group that you develop and accomplish these amazing things while you're growing this fan base. And it went from no one going to our games to it becoming sellout after sellout, and it became an event in the state every time we played. Incredibly hard. The 6 years. I didn't start thinking about any of this until probably the Sunday after we lost to You know, the Duke. I hate Duke. Sorry, Bob. Sorry, Bob. No, I know what to say. This is going to get me in trouble somewhere, but
That's
I know
right.
I'm making my people happy here, so I don't care. I don't care.
So you mentioned Bobby. For those that didn't see, and it's obviously available, you just Google it, but your emotion on Selection Sunday, not just for you or I getting in, because you knew you guys were going to get in as an at-large after you lost to Davidson, but seeing Arizona State get in. Where did that raw emotion come from that you exhibited once you saw Arizona State's name up there?
Well, just the season that they had, especially the non-conference, they had the best non-conference season of anyone in the country. I think they got as high as two in the country, 3 in the country, and then went through some struggles during conference play. And like the thing about, you know, when brothers are best friends and you're in this business is like you're never going through the same things at the same time. Like he's going through a losing streak while we've won 16 in a row. You know, it's kind of an awkward conversation, even with brothers. So it's just this weird kind of dynamic in your relationship where you're trying to pick each other up. And even when your season's going well, like, I'm like, well, you know, we just won our 15th game in a row. I'm like, yeah, but like my pizza on the bus was cold. You know, just trying to find something so that you could get as miserable as he is, you know, at that moment. So, you know, so now they lose in the first round of the Pac-12, and now any coach that says they're oblivious to what's going on with the bubble and the NCAA, they're lying. All right. So if you ever hear me say that in the press conference, I'm lying. All right.
Did the media hear that too?
Yeah, I'm lying. Well, yeah, and going into that championship game, pretty much all the bracketologists were saying, you know, if we lose that game, Davidson's going to steal a bid, and the program that they're going to potentially steal a bid from is Arizona State. And I felt that. I felt that on game day. Obviously, you want to win the championship for your school, your state, your program, the players, your coaching staff, everything you put into it. But, man, that was like, it was there like the whole day. And then, like, you know, you get into the pregame and you don't think about it anymore. But then, you know, once that game was over and you were done to hurting for your players and the staff and the press conference is over, there was this feeling of like, what have I just done? You know, like, and I looked at my phone, I got the text from my brother. It was like, you know, hang in there, Dan, don't worry about it. You had a great season. And I just, you know, I cried a lot of the bus ride to the restaurant that we watched the show at, and because I thought I cost my brother a bid to the NCAA tournament. And then I love the new format because they did it alphabetical. There would have been some level of suffering if that didn't go like that. But then when I saw it, I was stunned, elated, and then just done. Like emotionally, I just overwhelmed, and you know, and then obviously got a chance to recover and then appreciate, you know, us getting in. But
And it was close because Arizona State ended up playing in Dayton. You know, selection committee won't say necessarily they were the last team, but they were one of probably 2. So it could have gone either way.
who did we knock out? Did you ever did anyone ever know who we were responsible for?
I think you knocked out maybe Notre Dame. Might have been Notre Dame.
They didn't recruit me anyway. I didn't have the grades.
Because remember, Notre Dame had Bonzie Colson had come back and had a couple wins. I'm pretty sure it was Notre Dame. So recruiting. When you were at St. Benedict's and UConn came into the gym, what did that mean?
It caught the attention of you know, of the coaches, the players. It was a big deal. You know, it was you know, it was a big deal. It was like the reaction you'd get when Kansas would walk in, or UCLA would walk in, or North Carolina, Kansas. You know, it was an elite program. It's like, you know, you got a little bit better effort out of your guys that day. You know, guys were, you know, the layup line, guys are getting up a little bit higher, you know, and it had that type of, you know, that type of impact.
So now that you're wearing UConn, when you walk into those gyms in New Jersey and New York, what kind of impact do you hope you can have?
Yeah, I mean, you know, similar. You know, we're, 4 years removed from winning our, last national championship. 4 in the last, 20 years. No one's won more. I think we're somewhere around like 7th or 8th in the country in terms of most active NBA players. UConn has been one of the great brands in college basketball. Everyone respects that. Everyone acknowledges that. People are excited about, us recruiting them and the vision that we have for what they could do at the program. I think the thing that's exciting for kids that we're recruiting, underclassmen 2019, 2020 is, think about the opportunity to come and be the next great UConn guard or the next great UConn wing forward, or the next great UConn, big guy or part of the team that brings, UConn back to its, to its place at the top of college basketball.
So to that point, and this is something that I hope the fan base, is sort of over at this point, conference affiliation doesn't matter as much in this sport. Yes, it affects your scheduling, and we can get to that in a minute, but look what we've seen recently with Gonzaga getting to the Final Four, Wichita State, Loyola Chicago this past season. If you have a national schedule, you're a national brand, which UConn is, then it shouldn't matter. But even in this conference, the American, Cincinnati committed, Houston, Memphis, UCF's going to be really good this season. SMU's obviously had its moments. UConn won a national championship out of this league, didn't win it, has not won it since it's been in its league. What's your impression of the American, which is the home of the Huskies?
I think it's a underrated league that I think is going to get a whole lot better. I think with obviously Memphis and UConn being what Memphis and UConn could be and have kind of always have been in college, I think that significantly elevates the league. You look at Wichita State was a 4 seed last year. Cincinnati was a 2 seed. Houston, I think, was a 6 and had Michigan beat. A team that played for the national championship. It took that, very difficult kind of acrobatic 3-point shot to keep Houston from advancing to the Sweet 16. So, I think it's, what was that? Yes, it was.
Still have to make the shot.
Yeah, also a little bit of luck in there, my man. They don't really, those really, I'll be honest, a little bit.
They're already chirping. You haven't coached the game yet.
No, I know. You'll be emailing me. It's Dan Hurley at UConn. Don't email me about free throw shooting too, because that is the biggest misnomer about coaching that we could control, like whether guys make free throws or not. I'm just saying. That's a lot of that has to do, you got to be a good shooter, and you got to have some nerves and confidence, and you got to have a routine that works, and you got to have the stomach for it. So don't email me after we miss free throws. Anything else? What'd you ask?
About the league.
At the league. So I think it's a non-factor. For us, I think the league, again, a 2 seed, a 4 seed. When Memphis and UConn are what Memphis and UConn should be in college basketball, that elevates the conference. And for us, we've got to offset the fact that we're not in the Big East, by playing, I think a really, really aggressive non-conference schedule, that will hopefully include, every year a couple of our old Big East rivals.
Yeah, so to that point, there's been this ongoing series with Syracuse, whether it's home, road, or in the Garden. You'll play them in the Garden, I would expect this season. You've got the Villanova series that has happened, Georgetown. There was the charity game against Providence at the Mohegan Sun. What do you anticipate in terms of your scheduling philosophy to continue some of those series and maybe incorporate, a St. John's, a Seton Hall, even though Rutgers is in the Big Ten, but a Rutgers as a former Big East member as well?
Yeah. At Rhode Island, we were really good. We were top 25, top 30. Level program the last 2 or 3 years, and scheduling was really, really difficult. We would, at this time of year, we'd probably have to get 5 games, maybe even 6 non-conference games. And when I got to UConn, the schedule was done. So people want to play UConn. UConn The elite level programs, the top 15, top 20 programs in the country. A lot of our old rivals, want to play UConn and start series with UConn and play neutral site exciting games, whether it's at Mohegan or Madison Square Garden or the Barclays or, hopefully, maybe TD Bank in Boston or, just, get into games like that against big time opponents. But I don't think it's, people want to play us, and we hope that we're able to get, the Syracuses, the Georgetowns into home-and-home series with us, but having series with Arizona, Villanova, people, UConn carries a lot of weight, and we're going to be able to do exciting things, both with like non-conference, MTEs too. You get a chance to play in Maui, get a chance to play in Atlantis. Those are all opportunities that you get at UConn.
Well, there's no question that, all these tournaments, you can only take one school from a conference in a particular tournament. And UConn consistently gets invited to the best ones. It just sort of rotates through a 4-year cycle, whether it's Maui last year with the PK 80. You're not going to see the lower level American teams, East Carolina, South Florida. They don't get those invites. And I think that will continue with UConn, that you'll still be on that cycle of getting the best tournaments. I mentioned the Garden, huge following in the New York metro area. You know how critical it is recruiting. How often do you want to make sure that you're playing a game at the Garden?
Yeah, we would love to. We play 3. We're going to get a chance to play 3 in the non-conference this year, which, that's amazing. Getting games at the Garden, getting games at Barclay, I think are huge for us. Obviously, with the way that we were able to put the staff together, recruiting from New England, New York, New Jersey. I consider Connecticut more tri-state than New England, though, because I'm from Jersey. So my wife said that to me. So
it sort of straddles both.
Yeah, so I don't know. Do it for me. And then obviously the DMV area in North Carolina, like our recruiting base, the places where we could be the most effective and get the best combination of talent and character and winning is going to come from an area where kids playing at Madison Square Garden resonates, and playing in New York City, the Mecca, Kamani of basketball, New York City. It's huge, man. So.
All right, so if you have a perfect situation, you've got the guys that you want, what does a Danny Hurley team look like in terms of the style of play?
We want to dictate the terms of the game just by being the aggressor at both ends of the court. It all begins, and ends with me as how we're going to compete. And I think the first thing you probably see this year that'll excite you is the level that we compete at, how hard we're going to play. We're going to play. No one in the country is going to play harder than us. I don't know if I could sit in here and say that we're going to be the hardest playing team in the country, because we got a couple of hard playing teams in our league in Cincinnati, and but we're going to play as hard as anyone in the country. We're going to defend at a high level. We were an elite defensive team at University of Rhode Island. You're going to see predominantly man defense. It's a pressure man defense. There's not a lot of gimmicks to it. We don't trap a whole lot out of it. It's just pressure man. We're going to pick you up full court, and we're going to pressure you and make you feel uncomfortable. We thrive on deflections. We want to steal the ball. We want to block shots. We want to try to intimidate our opponent just by making them feel uncomfortable and taking them out of their patterns and take away the first couple things that they want to do. I think the fastest way that you can turn around a program, is by getting really good on defense and by playing really, really hard. And then, offensively, you're going to be obviously try to get the ball down the court as quickly as we can, try and score off turnovers, try and turn block shots into runouts. We've been very guard heavy at Rhode Island. It's hard to get really, really outstanding bigs at the Atlantic 10 level that you can really throw the ball into a lot. So we were primarily a guard-oriented attack there. But we're a paint team. We're like a team that's going to touch the paint a lot and spray the ball around and be well connected. You see guys on the court that pulling in the same direction. You're not going to see a hint of selfishness. You're not going to see a hint of a guy who's all about himself. You're going to see a team full of guys that want to represent that UConn across their chest in the best possible way, and it'll be a true team, just like a true team in every sense of the word. And you'll see that right away in year one.
All right, so let's just which you actually can down that aisle and merchandise to the right. I can double as that, selling all that. All right, so let's deal with the roster. Jaylen Adams, very public in his statement about why he wanted to come back to UConn. Unfinished business. What have you seen from Jaylen Adams so far?
So talented, skill level off the charts. I'll try to go quick with these guys. If he gets himself in the best shape of his life and gets his body right and lives in the gym this summer and really works on his perimeter shooting, we believe that he's got a chance to be the player of the year in the league, and that he's potentially a draftable player. But he's got to be razor sharp, and he's got to make the biggest commitment to the game that he's ever made in his life. But getting a fresh start with a new coach and a new staff has a way of re-energizing people. So we have very high expectations. I know it's important to him, his legacy here, and he has a chance to change the narrative of his career as somebody that's considered a pretty damn good guard in UConn's great legacy.
All right, can you just keep going down the roster here as quick as you can.
All right, if I forget somebody, just tell me a name, all right? Tariq Gilbert. Tariq, I think the one thing that we've been lacking is a leader. I think the last couple of years, a leader. And unfortunately for him, his health has obviously been an issue. Former McDonald's All-American. This guy has every intangible quality that you could want in a young man. Toughness, leadership. He cares. He's got a huge heart, and he starts shooting next week. He can actually start doing live stuff on the court this summer at some point, but we will certainly keep him out in September and probably wrap some bubble wrap around him. But he is a difference maker. Christian Vital, he's obviously back with us, and. So we're happy about that. Christian's got tremendous work ethic. He's very, very competitive, very emotional player. And I think he's a guy that our staff's going to be able to connect with because he cares a lot. We just got to kind of get him guided in the right direction. I think he could really be a part of us, winning and kind of turning the corner. We think Christian could do a really good job as a defender and a shooter. Tyler Poley. Tyler is a guy I think that has got a real chance to develop with us. He's got some real length and size to him. He shoots the ball beautifully. Obviously, his body's underdeveloped. You saw that last year. But we believe that we've got a strength program that's going to be put in place now that's going to be very, very intense, and that's going to really help a guy like Tyler make some huge strides. If he could put on 10 or 12 pounds before the season starts, he could be a big factor for us as somebody that could stretch the floor and a guy that we could switch ball screens with. He could play big wing. He could play some stretch four, so he's got a lot of value. Josh Carlton. Josh has got some real potential. He's got a great frame. He looks the part. His skill level is really high. He can really handle the ball and do a lot more things than you guys probably think he can do. We got to get his motor. We got to develop his motor and his intensity and his physicality on the court. Again, a lot of that comes from your strength program. We call it human performance. Excuse me. I don't want to piss Sal off.
Day one.
No, you don't want to. But Josh has got a big future with us. I'm just going to jump around here. Mamadou, Mamadou, we need Mamadou to be a butt kicker. He needs to become a beast out there, and I haven't seen that on film, and I was giving him a hard time today about that. He's got to be like an enforcer type. He's got to do some of the things that Kay Freed did in terms of being an undersized guy that's pretty athletic, that's a warrior. And he's a little bit better shooter than you think, so he may be like an undersized four-man that if you see him stepping out making some shots this year, don't be surprised, but he's got to battle and become a rebounder and a tough guy out there. Isaiah Whaley, athletic guy, a lot of upsides, got a lot of work to do on his skill work, but he's a hard trier and a guy that wants to get better. And he started a bunch of games last year, so he's got experience. We got to really develop his skill work and his fundamentals. Eric Cobb could really help us if he gets his weight down. Eric's got to get down to like 240. He probably played last year a little bit north of 270. No, that's okay. We had this guy, Andre Berry. Anyone see us play this year? We had this guy, Andre Berry, on our team. He came in at 25 pounds. He played this year at 270. I say 375. You'd be like, wow, great job, coach.
That's what's going to happen when you come here. We're going to gain 50 pounds.
So he played at 275 this year, and he started every game for us on an NCAA tournament team and a championship team. So Eric Cobb's very skilled, and again, he's got a restart, senior year, last year, most important year of his life. He's all in. Sid. So, Sid is a freshman, right? Sid is a freshman. He's developing. He has talent. He's got to live in the gym, and we've got a lot of work to do with him, but he's an exciting guy to work with because he's got a very exciting skill set. He's multi-positional, and he's obviously very athletic. He's another guy that needs to get in a quality, intense strength program that's going to push him every day, not just about what he's lifting, but about what he's eating, his rest, his recovery. It's everything. Does that everybody? Quentin. All right, Quentin Williams, also known as Jump.
I was going to say, this is what good assistants do. They feed you the names.
They are. They're feeding me a lot of names. Quentin's going to be a senior. Didn't play a whole lot, but he's an athletic guy, trying to figure out kind of positionally, where he might play. But he's a very intense guy. He wants to be good. He played some spot minutes last year, and we're just trying to kind of work with him and figure out where we could kind of play him. And then just a couple things on the newcomers, the three guys we brought in, two grad transfers and then a high school kid. The two grad transfers, Kasumi Okwe, who's from St. John's. He's got the 1 year coming up here with us. One of our issues last year was we didn't have a whole lot of rim protection, not a lot of athleticism at the front of the rim to contest things. Because we play pressure man defense now, we are going to get beat off the dribble sometimes because we are going to be pressuring the dribbler, and when that happens, you're going to get beat off the dribble. And so it was essential for us to find some size that we can bring in here that can block shots and change shots at the rim. Kasum, led the Big East in shot blocking 1 year. I think was like second another year. So he brings a lot of value because he fits our style really perfectly and is a super, super athlete. And we play an athletic game. And then Terrence Smith is a guard who transferred to us from Duquesne. Started out at Nebraska with Kenya. Played at Duquesne when I was in the Atlantic 10 with them. Was actually A10 sixth man of the year this past year. Had a great year, averaged close to 12 and 4 assists. He's going to really upgrade our perimeter. He can play a couple different spots, tenacious defender, tremendous passer, really, really athletic, and he's a winner. Played for my father in high school. So
at St. Anthony's.
At St. Anthony's. So if that one goes bad, then my father's a horrible coach. So a lot of familiarity with those two guys. They're going to help our culture. They're hard workers. They're smart. They're good students. They're really good players. They're about winning. So with the 2 grad transfers, they're going to be really, really good for us in terms of changing the culture and changing our win-loss record. And then Brendan Adams was the one high school kid that we took. And he was committed to us at Rhode Island. You know, when we beat him, when we beat other schools for him in the early signing period, he's a 6'4" combination guard that can really shoot the ball. He's a tremendous offensive player. He could score at all 3 levels. He's got good size. He comes from a good basketball family like me. His older brother starred at St. Bonaventure. And was
the other Jaylen Adams.
The other Jaylen Adams starred at Bonaventure, all-time great player there. So he comes from great pedigree, you know, and he's going to be both a short-term and a long-term solution for us. Because when we signed him at Rhode Island in the early signing period, you know, we didn't beat other Atlantic 10 programs for him. You know, we beat Georgia for him, and I think Georgia Tech. So at Rhode Island, we recruited against, you know, BCS level and top 30, top 40 programs. So that's everybody. And
did we get everyone?
You want to know about the managers?
No.
Can I just say one thing too?
Yes.
We have 3 people here too that are, you know, critically important. If they could just all stand as I introduce you guys here. We've got LaRib over there. Who please stand, LaRib. This is part of our administrative staff here. LaRib is like, you know, in basketball, on each team they got the glue guy. Right, everyone's got a glue guy. That's the glue gal or the glue woman. To UConn basketball for the last, how many years? I don't know. I don't want to make LaRib feel old. A lot of years. So, like, LaRib is not only amazing on the administrative side to help this program function, but she's also a bridge to so many of the great former players and coaches that have come through here. She's like a big sister to so many here. Trip Doherty, right here. Trip, video coordinator here, video coordinator, and gives us a lot of the content that we send out in recruiting. He worked at Harvard before he came to Rhode Island, so he had to dumb it down to be around me a little bit. But does an amazing job with the video. And it's not just like scouting and preparation. It's also putting together little snippets that we can send to recruits. Like we just sent the Ray Allen clip when he scored the bucket versus Georgetown to win the Big East tournament. And then we followed that up with the 3 that he hit to save LeBron in the game in Miami there. So, like, then we sent that to recruits, so Trip Doherty. And then Eric Jankowski there. Eric, you know, director of ops. He just, again, making sure that everything's running smoothly, everything from, you know, team travel during the season to putting out various fires that, you know, brush fires that occur all over the place. He's from Jersey. His father's actually from Jersey City, where we grew up. And his father once outplayed my brother in a CYO game. We were on the Bucks. His father was on the Braves. He busted my brother's butt in that game. So he's got good bloodlines, and that's why I hired him. He graduated from URI in 3 years, too, so he's smart. And he's going to be great in the business. So Eric, also known as Ebo, after Tim Tebow, like, because he's too good to be true. So...
So I'm getting the wrap sign. We have finished our time here, but keep in mind, as Dan said, if there are questions, you can email him often, especially right after a game, even if they lose, because he'll really want to hear from you and get all your analysis, all your post-game analysis. We welcome Dan Hurley to the state, to the program. It's going to be a great marriage with UConn. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Thanks for watching on Facebook Live.
Thank you.